Hello everyone, this is Jonathan Little for PokerNews.com, and today we have a hand from a $3,000 buy-in World Series of Poker event. We are starting to get pretty deep in this tournament. We started with 9,000 chips, and now we have 172,000, so that's a lot. Folds around to Dan Kelly, who is a very good, I would say generally loose aggressive player, but thoughtful and a very, very strong player. Certainly someone you don't want to tangle with too much. And he makes it 4,500, so a bit more than a min raise. We do have a 300 ante, so the antes are large. And we have 6-3 of diamonds in the big blind. I just mentioned how we don't really want to tangle, but getting great pot odds, I'm going to throw 2,500 in to what is going to end up being a pretty sizable pot, 12,700 total, and we're going to see the flop. So it comes queen, 7-5, 1 diamond, and that gives me a gut shot and a backdoor flush draw, so not too much to be proud of. If we do get the 4, it is almost certainly good, right? Also, Dan will very likely view the 4 as pretty much a blank. So for that reason, I don't really mind calling. If he bets again on the turn, I'm almost certainly not going to have a ton of equity, so I can easily check fold. If I do get a diamond on the turn, I can often check raise the turn, and that will be nice enough. So I don't mind calling. I could also raise here on the flop. I don't see anything wrong with making it 14,000. That's going to put him in a miserable spot. And when you are raising in this situation, you always want to ask, how many nut hands do I have? And then, at least try to compare to how many nut hands he has. I probably don't have very many pocket queens, but I do have all the 7s and 5s. I also have queen 7 suited, queen 5 suited, 7-5, probably all offsuit ones, maybe queen 7 offsuit. So I do have a decent amount of 2 pairs, and he has almost none. So if I am going to check raise all of those, that will allow me to check raise a decent amount of my draws, and for that reason, perhaps I should have just check raised this hand. But I'm not opposed to calling either, given I have to put in 4,000 to get 20,000 immediately. So we're getting 5-to-1 pot odds, well, 4-to-1 pot odds, something like this. And also we can expect some money to go in the pot. And if more money does not go into the pot, that often is going to give us a situation that is somewhat ripe for bluffing. So I do check on the turn, or I do call the flop, and then the turn is a 5 of spades. So let's talk about this card, actually. I would not hate a lead from me. It's very important to ask yourself, how does this card help my range, and how does it help my opponent's range? Like, does it help my opponent's range? Well, Dan probably has very few 5s in his range, whereas I have a lot of them. I mean, we see we have 6-3, so I could easily have 5-4, 6-4, 7-4. I'm sorry, 7-5, 6-5, 5-4, 5-3. You get what I'm saying. We have a lot of 5s, and he doesn't. So we also want to ask, how many flush draws do I have? And I probably have more, at least some flush draws in my range, at least more of the marginal ones than he does. So anyway, I could certainly lead this turn because this turn should be way better for my range than for his, especially when you're looking at the polarized hands, the nut hands. Certainly, if he has aces, this is a pretty decent turn because it makes my queen 7s no good, and also it really locks up his equity. But this is a spot where I just have more 5s, so I think leading is fine. I think some people get in their minds that they want to lead as the big blind check caller every time the bottom card pairs, and that's certainly a mistake because all bottom cards are not created equally. This 5, for example, is really good for me, whereas if the board was instead something like Queen Jack 10 and then the turn was a 10, well, that turn card's perfectly fine for the opponent because he should have lots of sets and straights and 2 pairs and whatnot. So be aware that usually you're looking to lead on boards where the bottom card is kind of junky. So this time I check, but I could see a lead being fine. If I did lead, I would bet something like 6,000 on the turn and then blast the river. Anyway, now I'm probably just going to check fold on the turn, but it does go check, check. River is a queen. So when he checks back the turn, what does his range look like? It's going to be a lot of ace highs, a lot of king highs, a lot of medium pairs, a lot of queens, maybe some 7s, and that's about it. Maybe he has some hands like ace X with the ace of spades he decides to just check. So that said, his range looks like a lot of marginal stuff and then some nuts. When your opponent's range is a lot of marginal stuff and nut hands, you want to, well, when you're going to bluff or when you're considering bluffing, like clearly I am here, you want to choose a bet size that will get the marginal stuff to fold, that will also minimize your losses when your opponent has the nuts. So if he has a queen, obviously he's never folding. If he has aces or kings, he's never folding. What about if he has a hand worse than perhaps a 7? Or what if he has a 7 or worse? Will he ever consider folding that? And I think he will. If he has ace high, he's probably going to fold to some bets. I would actually have preferred a slightly larger bet in my shoes, because when I bet 7, I do think perhaps he decides to hero call with some ace highs. So this may not be the most ideal bet. It's actually kind of rough because I have a 6 and a 3 in my hand. I block pocket 3s, which is a hand that I would have preferred him to have, and it makes it harder for him to have it when I have a 3 in my hand. Like having a hand like 4 or 3 here would be particularly bad, because then I block pocket 4s and pocket 3s, which are hands he would fold normally, right? So anyway, I'm not sure if I like this sizing. I do like the idea here that I'm betting small to try to get him to fold a lot of his marginal stuff, but I think a bigger bet would have perhaps gotten him to fold more marginal stuff. Anyway, this time he does fold, so I don't know if he had ace high, king high, pocket 3s, who knows? But it did succeed this time, and this kind of shows you that just sticking around to the turn in the river will lead to you winning the pot sometimes. I think a lot of people get in their minds that I have to be getting great immediate pot odds, and if I'm not, then I have to fold. Or even I have to be getting great implied odds, and if I'm not, I have to fold. And notice here, we weren't getting amazing implied odds. They were just okay. And we ended up finding a way to win the hand, and that will often be the case if you are searching for scenarios like this. So that's going to be it for this hand for PokerNews.com. If you have any questions for me, definitely let me know on Twitter at Jonathan Little. I'm happy to help, and I will talk to you next week. Thanks for watching.